the on-side proposition started out by telling you about the profound importance of socio-economic rights. And at the beginning, Team Singapore agreed with us too. They told you that they were a good idea. Yet they shifted throughout the debate towards unfettered meritocracy, towards democracy that allows for the tyranny of the majority, ultimately to a system that has no alternatives because they apparently just don't care. We think on our side of the house that they have not provided a way to deliver these rights that we have proven so important, and that's why we won on the two themes. Is this justified and is it effective? Firstly, is it justified? We started out by talking to you about the human condition, that we all agree to a social contract and we all need to receive that in return, and that it needs to be equally accessible for all citizens. Since they did not contest this, we assume that they're operating under the exact same principles as we are. With that being said, we asked them, why aren't socioeconomic rights important? We talked to you about how they help you access your rights. While they like to talk about the vote and voting people in and out of power, they never told you what happens to an individual who does not know how to use a vote, who cannot be benefited from a vote. They told you that not everyone consents on these things. And we told you that courts are just as democratic, that it's not always about consent when the minority's consent isn't quite loud enough. That they told you they were trying to operate on what's best for everyone when they are fine with neglecting a few. They tried to will you into the belief that somehow altruism will prevail when you look at the world, that simply is not always the case. Ultimately, we'd say that some individuals just do not benefit from the avenues of change available, that they need us. They then told you that some rights have to be negotiable, and that you'll put them in bills and laws. Well, we'd say if this is true, why is it okay to usurp those laws? Why would you not go farther to make them always something that people should be able to access? And that's where they said it's just too expensive for these positive rights. When we told you that you also pay for negative rights, they said that they benefit everyone. However, we do not support things like freedom of speech just because it's easy. We support it because everyone should have it. What we told you is that states are more stable, that they benefit more from using their resources, when everyone is able to participate in a meritocracy, something they did not respond to. They accused us of being communist simply because we told you that everyone should have their minimum requirements for life met, something that we don't think they truly represented accurately. They tried to expand the debate to the international realm, not realizing the nature of the social contract, that if you are in a system where the poor have been harmed specifically because it's a meritocracy in which the rich necessarily will benefit, that's where that obligation comes from to help their poor. That's where that obligation comes from to make a difference. Again, no response. We would say that in our case, we've proven to you that we necessarily are justified in making these changes. So now will it be effective? Well, what they told you is that it's not economically viable in the long run, that ultimately you have to spend too much. They were silent to things such as progressive tax, which don't harm the middle class, they harm those with more money than they need. They were silent to things that were revenue neutral, such as our example of doctors giving community service. They were silent to the idea of taxing corporations for profit that they do not necessarily need. They were silent to issues of power struggle, such as putting houses on certain land. They did not engage with all of the measures that we told you were definitely economically feasible. They just said trials were too expensive. Well, if the costs of a right of a fair trial are something that they oppose, then they're opposing the status quo. And when we asked them, would you not vote on political rights too? Would you not change that? They tried to stray to things such as genocide and things that are outside of the debate. They ultimately had no way to deal with disparity. And lastly, they tried to hinge their case on ambiguity, saying that it's uncertain, despite the fact that we showed you in South Africa we were able to negotiate these things. They said, how can courts fight against companies? We said the same way they do in the status quo with every other issue dealt with in courts, that a constitutional protection is so strong, we think you should at least have the right to try it. What they are arguing for is clarity, not removal of these rights. What we have shown you on our side of the house today is how crucial these socioeconomic rights are, how a certain bill, how the hope for altruism will not succeed in providing them in the same way that this constitutional protection will. If there is one thing I would like to leave you with today, it is that when human dignity is undermined, socioeconomic rights must be enshrined. Thank you very much.